You know, a lot of times I come out here and I just sit for a few minutes before I get kind of motivated to do something. But what happens is when I sit down in the chair, especially the lounge chair, the sun hits me and I just get lethargic and just kind of just think, you know what? I don't want to do anything. I'm just going to sit in the sun. And but no, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do a video today. Now, some people have mentioned that I don't do enough videos on showing my garden itself, like the plants and stuff. Well, I wanted my channel to kind of be something a lot different. I didn't want to do, I think that a lot of times when people take their video camera and they go out and show their plants, it's kind of braggadocious in my opinion. I think it's like, oh, look at this, look how great my plants are doing. I don't want to do that because I don't want to be a braggart, you know, and stuff. So I like to kind of show what I'm doing as far as like, you know, building stuff or how I do things, but not so much just saying, oh, there's a tomato plant. Look, it's 7 feet tall. And then everybody go, ooh, I wish I had it 7 feet tall. It's just, like I say, it's kind of braggadocious and I'm not kind of into that. And I didn't want my channel to be that. So I decided that today I wanted to do a video that's kind of like behind the scenes, kind of like stuff that's going on that's kind of quirky or, you know, that it's out of the norm. And because you always just get to see successes on YouTube. You don't usually get to see failures. And they're not really failures. I guess a couple of them are failures. But pretty much they're just kind of things that are happening that you just kind of scratch your head and go, well, that's kind of weird. And so I wanted to bring you along and show you that. Now, I've got my Gorilla Pod, so I'm going to hand hold this. And I apologize if it's kind of shaky, but I'm just not good at hand holding video. I get talking and then I just don't think, and I'm looking at what I'm videotaping and I'm thinking about that and my hand starts doing this thing. And so I'm going to apologize right now for any shakiness that might be going on. I'm just not good at it. Okay, I want to start in the orchard here. Okay, so in this orchard, I have 15 fruit trees, and they're all on this side of the orchard. Over here is berries and whatnot and stuff. So they're all in the same general area, getting the same amount of sunlight and sharing the same water, stuff like that. So now, let me show you this one here. This here is a Braeburn apple that I planted 2 years ago. Okay, so at the same time, I planted, ooh, I almost fell in a rut. I planted this Fuji apple, and this Fuji is about 7 feet tall. Okay, so they are the same age. I planted them the same time. They were the same height. This one here has just laid an egg. Why? I have no clue. I know the top part of it is dead. I need to lop that off. But that's just sometimes that's just how it goes. And I'm going to leave it. And I've already threatened it. I've told it that if it doesn't start growing by next year, it's going through the chipper. So hopefully it's taking heed to my warning. And of course, you know me. I'm a sucker. I would probably leave it for the next 12 years, even if it didn't do anything, because that's just the way I am. But anyways, this it's a big fail. No clue why it's not. I'm going to be mulching around it, making it. I did mulch around it before, pulled it away when I did the sprinklers for all of the fruit trees down here. So I need to remulch. You'll notice how a lot of the grass is dead around it. That was just because of the mulch. But that was one thing that I didn't show before because that's a fail. And I'm not afraid of the failures because the failures, I mean, the successes definitely outweigh the failures. Now down here, let me show you this. When I was doing the irrigation for fruit trees, somebody mentioned, why do I have this apple tree going down onto the ground in the pathway and preventing me from going between these two trees? Okay, this is a funny little story here. Now, this is a multi-grafted tree. On this left side here is a late blooming variety, and on the right is an early. Now, I needed this variety here to pollinate this tree. And so that's why I left it. And let me go around to the other side and I'll show you what's happening. Now, okay, this is really strange. This here graft is the same variety as that one. On the right here is different. That's a later. So this one did not produce any flowers this year. No clue why. Probably because it's stressed. That would be my guess. There's just stress going on, and it just wasn't happy. But down here, look, you'll notice I have apples. So this branch here was where all of the blossoms were, and that was it. So I was reluctant to just lop it off. Now, of course, it needs to come off because you can't have your branches touching the ground like that. It's much easier for bugs and stuff to go up the tree and whatnot, and disease and stuff. But you'll notice this here. So when this tree the branch was up high, and then it got weak, we had some windstorms and stuff like that. And it kind of came down, and as it was slowly coming down, it just twisted as it went down, and of course, cracked here. So a smart person would have lopped this off here, but I didn't. So that really tells you what kind of person I am. However, the cadmium layer is still intact, so it was providing nutrients for that branch. And the only thing I'm going to get out of this tree are the apples on that branch in the spring here. I'll get some on that side. I usually do. So why that branch didn't produce, yeah, it's a mystery. So anyways, that was the reason why. So, also, so now let me take you around here and show you this tree. Somebody also mentioned, what in heaven's name happened to this tree? Okay, so this is a funny little story. Up here, there is my well and my deteriorating well house, which I'm going to build a new one this summer, and I'll probably bring you guys along for that too. But anyways, about 6 or 7 years ago, I had a problem with that well, and they had to bring a bunch of equipment in and dig and stuff like that. So they had some trucks and whatnot in here, and that fence had that old rubberized fence. Before I put that metal one up, people remember the rubberized fencing, and so I had to take all that down. And so all the trucks were in here. It was before I planted that one. I planted that one this year, actually. But they brought trucks in, and they were backing around here and right into this tree, bent it right over. Now, I didn't know about it right away when they did it, but I was trying to. I thought, well, you know what I would do is I would just push it back up. Well, when I started to push it back up, it was, I just couldn't do it by hand without something breaking, and I don't know what was giving way down there. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to leave it. So it has been producing these little shoots, and I've been knocking them off because I wanted something more to the top. So what happened was a couple years ago, it decided to branch up like this and give me this beautiful, prolific branch right here, which is just incredible. Now, to look down below, it's kind of one of these things where you've got this beautiful offspring, and it's this ugly base. It's kind of like me and my children. This is me, and this is a beautiful offspring. And but when it happened, I thought it was going to die because the woodpeckers have been banging on it, and everything's just been, this thing is just, I felt sorry for it. But anything in my garden that decides that it wants to live, I'm going to let it live. It had within its own mind, okay, I mean, I don't want to sound mystic, but it just had its own, it had something within it that just decided, I'm going to live, I'm going to do everything I can to survive. And so because of that, this is a testament to determination. And so it's staying for now. If it decides that it wants to go disease or it wants to die or something like that, then I'll pull it out. But for now, I think this to me, I love the looks of it. I don't know what it is, but I love the fact that it came back. It's not boring. It's certainly a conversation piece. So that's what's going on with that one. And then the last thing in the orchard here, you'll notice this rubberized fencing that I took down because I put the new metal stuff up. And so some of this is still laying there on top. You'll notice it's over there on the ground too. And around there's some of it that's just laying. And so a lot of people had asked why I hadn't taken that rubberized fencing down. It's ugly, get rid of it. Well, the reason is, I have a really good reason for that. It's called laziness. Well, there's a little bit of laziness and procrastination. And I think they're pulling on each other and see who wins. But that's what's going on with that. So anyways, let's go up to the north garden with the raised beds, and I wanted to show you some things there. Actually, on the way, there's one thing I wanted to show you. Okay, a few years ago, I put in a dwarf pomegranate in the yard here, and it was longer than, it was about 6 years ago, I guess. And I didn't say anything about it. I completely forgot about mentioning it to people. We went and took a trip. I forgot to mention it to the people that were house sitting for us. And when they mowed, they right over top of it. And I came back and it was just completely grass high. And so I didn't really say anything. I said, okay, well, that's all right. So then it just kind of went brown and it just kind of died. It just really didn't do much. And so I thought, well, okay. I don't water this yard, by the way. This is like a combination of, like, I don't know, fescue and Kentucky bluegrass, or it's a blend. And so it doesn't really require a lot of water. And even if it did, I wouldn't water it because I don't believe in wasting water on lawns. Now, you might, I'm not condemning that. I'm just saying that I mean, if I look at it this way, if I can't eat it, I don't grow it. But if it wants to grow and live, that's fine. But anyways, the only watering it got is in the wintertime and the rare occasional rain we get in the summer. But this spring, something interesting happened. Now, here we're looking at years of summers with no water. And let me show you what's happening. Right here, this little pomegranate decided that it was going to spring back up and come to life. You'll see right here this dead stem right here. And all of a sudden, here we've got new life. So what I might do is pull this out and find a home for it and baby it and see if it'll grow. But so again, here is the testament to the will to survive. And so it's really my duty to now baby this and help it along. But of course, you know what's going to happen. It's surviving well on its own. If I pull that out and put it somewhere in a bed where I can baby it, it's probably going to die. But I'm going to do it anyways, and I'm going to baby it and see see what becomes of it. Oh, before we get to the north garden, I wanted to show you what's going on here. I went and bought, there was the plant sale at the local nursery, and there were like 4 different kinds. There was a couple peppers and a couple tomatoes. I don't usually buy plants. I usually do everything from seed. But I thought, well, this is kind of cool. I mean, they were really cheap, and I'm like, well, all right, we'll just throw them in here. I had this spot in this raised bed. Well, what happened was, I came out. Now, this fencing was not here. None of this around here. And I came out like a moron. I put them in. I planted them in here, and I thought, okay, well, I know the deer are going to try to get them, but I'm just going to go ahead, plant them, and then in a couple days or so, I'll try to put a barrier on here. The very next morning, I came out, and there were huge hoof prints inside my bed. What it did was it jumped up into the bed and decided that it wanted to eat that pepper over there. Now, not that one that I had planted there. I went back and got another one to replace that one and chewed off the top right here of this tomato. So I had to feverishly scrounge some material and put this quick fence up around it. And then this here, I've shown how to do this well, I guess it would be not really fencing, but what it is just a barrier, and it sits down inside of these pipes, and so you just lift it off like this, and it sits down like that, and then I can get to my bed. Now, this part here is still open, so I'm going to have to do something that end, but doggone deer. If you think, okay, I'll just do something about it in the morning, trust me, they'll do something about it before morning. Incidentally, I had a trail cam going out here just to keep an eye on these to see if anything happened. And guess what? If you're wondering why this ladder is here, it's because I haven't done anything about the space between that post and the greenhouse, and I got to do something about that. So for now, the ladder is keeping the deer out. Okay, so I know it's a big mess in here. I got hoses everywhere and stuff. But what I wanted to show you was over here. Okay, so people who have been following my channel know that this garlic bed here, I've been trying to get rid of it for years. And little garlics keep popping up everywhere, and I keep pulling them. And then the following spring, they pop back up again. But this is what I want to show you. These are the walking onions. I did a video on the onions just a little bit ago, a month or two. And I pulled them. I took the bulblets off, the little, you'll see here. Let me give you a good shot of this. See, this bulblet produces a bunch of little bulbs or mini onions that you can plant, and each one of these will produce a new plant, new stalk. So I pulled them off, all of these off of here, and planted them in another bed, and I'll show you that in a second. But what happened was, obviously, something happened down below where I didn't pull all the stalks out because I yanked everything out of here. And in the spring, I showed in a previous video, they started coming up. Look at the beauty we've got going on here. All of these bulblets, some people call them bulbs, bulblets. Anyways, they're all just growing incredibly. Look at how beautiful those are. So I think what's going to happen, here is another testament to the will to live. So I think I'm going to cordon this off and then just, put the cement, the cinder blocks here, get rid of all this and put maybe a raised bed over there, and maybe leave this or maybe transplant them. But since all these came up, I'm gonna let them live. So they'll find a new home or they'll stay there. But let me show you where I planted them. This is what happens when you plant those little bulblets, bulbs. Each one of these has produced a new plant. And look at that. So I've got like 50 or 60 of these new ones. You'll notice the garlic here is just about ready to be harvested. I've already dug down and pulled one out, and it looks pretty good. It's just about ready to go. But now in here, there's a funny thing going on. Let me show you this. I've got what looks like a bulb above the soil. But when I dig down here, there's also a bulb down below. Same thing on this plant also. I've got another one here. Now, I've been growing garlic for, oh goodness, 30 years. And I've never had that happen to me before. They're pretty much all just straight stalks. And it's kind of strange. So I haven't researched it, really haven't looked it up. So what are you doing in there? Get out of there. So now this here is the spinach that I just threw in here. I mentioned it in a previous video where I just had some old seed that was quite a few years old. And I just threw it in and left it last fall. And then lo and behold, this spring, I got all this spinach. And I was giving spinach away. It just kind of consumed this half of the bed. I was giving spinach away to friends. They were coming over picking it. And I just couldn't, I couldn't get rid of it fast enough. And so I decided that I was going to let this just go to seed. So if you're wondering why you have allergies, let me show you what's going on this time of year. So yeah, every time the wind blows and you're walking by, you're breathing all of that pollen. So, okay, so let me show you this. Now this is the Rouge Diver. Now I had been mispronouncing this for years. I called it Rogue Diver, and dummy me never really looked at the spelling. It's not R-O-G-U-E, it's R-O-U-G, so it's Rouge Diver. Rouge, red, of course, what a moron. But anyways, I've been growing this for years and saving the seeds. But now that spinach there has bolted. I'll be saving the seeds soon. This lettuce, yeah, hurry up and bolt, would you? I've been eating this, and the same thing as the spinach, I've been giving it away, tons of it here, that I just threw the seed in here last fall. I was expecting to use this bed for other things, but no, I am not using this bed for other things. I'm using it for spinach, waiting for it to bolt. So if somebody would tell this thing that it needs to bolt, I'd appreciate it. I can still eat it. It's not the freshest, not the best tasting, but it'll go on a sandwich just fine. And then you'll notice this is the peas that I threw, also just kind of tossed them in. The peas also shouldn't be producing this time of year. It's been hot. We've had almost 100 degrees. We've had 90 degrees for multiple days, and it's still producing. And these things are just, they're looking beautiful. And again, they're just delicious. I've got them over here. I've got them over here, but they're delicious. This was supposed to come up. I was supposed to eat it. I didn't know all those seeds were going to germinate. So pretty much this bed was not supposed to be what it is. It was not supposed to be all the spinach and peas. I thought they would come up. I thought they would be done. They'd be out of here, harvested, and Bob's your uncle. But the best laid plans, I decided to leave them because these peas are still producing. And I did a video on the onions that I planted in here, and I didn't think that these peas would overtake them. So now they're sharing this space, but it's not hurting the onions at all. These onions are still huge. Now you'll see that I've got some tops here, and I'm popping them off because I do not want these onions to go to seed. Typically they will flower and go to seed the second year, but I am getting some flowers on the top here, and I don't want them to cross-pollinate with my walking onions. So I've got to lop that one over there off because I don't want that to happen. Now there is another major fail in here that I had a couple potatoes that somebody gave me. Well, actually there's like 5 or 6 potatoes, and they were pretty good potatoes, but I couldn't eat them all, and I left a couple sitting, and they decided to sprout eyes. Of course, that's naturally what they do. I threw them in here also with my hodgepodge bed. I call it my hodgepodge bed. And I threw them in here and really completely forgot about them. And they laid dormant last fall, or maybe it was actually about January, I guess. And they laid dormant. I absolutely forgot about them. So when I planted these onions, these started coming up soon after, and I said, uh-oh, because you're not supposed to plant potatoes next to onions. Now, it hasn't hurt the onions at all. You'll notice that. I'm suspicious, though. Well, I'll find out. I'll find out if I get potatoes in here when these are ready to be harvested. They're going to flower and whatnot. So I will let you know if it was any detriment to these potatoes. Definitely not to the onions. They're doing fairly well. So it hasn't hurt them. It may be because there was a small barrier here. That's not a small barrier. That onion is not doing that great. It's not as big as that one. So it could be that this onion here, because it's in close proximity to that, I won't know until it becomes, until it's harvest time. So I'll let you guys know. That is a lone asparagus that I thought died. That actually decided to come back, and not sure why. Now this here, I have 2 lone asparagus in with these because these asparagus were not supposed to be alive. They were supposed to be dead. There's one down here and one here. But nothing happened with them. I actually put them in water, and then I put them in some soil in a pot, and nothing really happened. They looked like they were dead. So I threw them in here, cut the tops off, threw them in here, and buried them, and just didn't think anything was going to happen. Well, it looks like they're deciding to come back to life. So when I harvest these peas, it'll give these some more sun, and it looks like this is going to be an asparagus section. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, so here's a really funny story. Now, I have a section here where I grew rhubarb from seed, and I have a worm bin, and I have a lot of leachate that comes out of those worm bins, and it's pretty much like the worm pea. And some people say don't ever use it, it's not good, can harbor bacteria and things like that. And some people say, oh, it's great, dilute it with like a couple cups per gallon of water, and use it on your vegetables. I don't use it. I put it over near the blackberry bushes. There's wild blackberry bushes, and I just dump it over there, and the blackberries love it. But I don't use it for anything else but that. It's kind of just, you know, they're just wild, and I thought they would like them. Now, what happened was I had a big tray of the leachate, and it was pure leachate, and I brought it out here, set it on the corner of this bed, and was picking up something off the ground that had fallen. And I went to stand up, and I dumped the leachate all over the other corner of this bed. Let me show you, not this corner, that corner of the bed. These were the same size. The leachate dumped onto those rhubarb right across here, and it just trailed like this. And look at that rhubarb. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should use leachate, and I'm not suggesting that you should use it full strength. But what I'm saying is, my rhubarb loved it. Now, in this bed here, I have peppers called Big Bertha. Well, really big Bertha. Take a look at that stunted plant. I don't know what's going on with it, but that is not big. It may be Bertha, but it's not big. So for some reason, Big Bertha doesn't like this bed. That there is a Kakai pumpkin. Seems to be doing well. I had one seed that somebody gave me. I grew it last year, but I ate it all and somehow never got to save the seeds. So somebody gave me one seed. I planted it, and lo and behold, it's doing great. These are all nothing really to write home about. Now this bed here is a hodgepodge of onions. I had some onion transplants. I had some seeds and bulbs, and I just threw them all in here. I don't know the varieties. I don't know what they are, where they came from, but some of them you'll see aren't doing great at all because they are probably the wrong variety for this area. And so I'm going to pull this out of here. This is going to become something new. I don't know what I'm going to use this bed for. But this here is what's called a tiger nut. Somebody gave me a bag of tiger nut snacks. And when I was eating them, I thought, you know what? I wonder, they got kind of a crunchy shell. I wonder if I could soak these in water for a couple days and plant one and see what happens. So I planted about 4 or 5 of them, and only one of them came up. And right here. But from that one that came up, when I planted this, it was just one stem. And underneath the ground, what's happening is I'm getting more stems from it. This is from one tiger nut seed. Now I've heard that it can kind of take over your garden, so keep it contained. So this may become the tiger nut bed if I'm not careful. But I just wanted to grow them and see how they would do. But they seem to be doing pretty good. So I'll let you know how that goes as the summer progresses. Okay, I am the poster child for procrastination. You see that 3-bay compost bin? When I built that, I said that I was going to build a lid for it in another video. It's still on the list. Okay, so you see that bale of hay right there. That is one of 2. I had 2 bales that I was going to use as food, kind of not food, a bedding for the worms, kind of like a top bedding to hold the moisture in and keep it dark. And it ended up sprouting on me. And well, let me show you the 2 bales. Okay, I bought these 2 bales in December, and I was going to use them in my worm bins. And it got really stormy and rainy and whatnot, and it just ended up being a nasty January and February, and I just left them. I said, well, you know what? I can still use them, when it's towards spring. Well, lo and behold. Okay, so if you happen to also see a lot of white buckets around the property, sometimes they'll be turned over, sometimes they'll be upright. Well, the purpose of those, I have 10 acres here. And I'm surrounded by thousands and thousands of acres of forest. And we also, like north of here, right over those trees there, was the Klondike fire just a few miles away. And what happened was it drove a lot of wildlife down through here because there are roads, highways, systems way over, miles over there, and big mountains over there. So it drove a lot of them down through here, and they came down the hills here, and they kind of use our property as kind of a gateway. I don't know where they're headed, but they come through here. So the purpose of the buckets is, in the summertime, I have them all over the property. I have them up here on the hills here. I have them back there, down near the orchard and whatnot. And I have them full of water. So because what they're doing is, when they're being chased away out of their homes by wildfires, they're coming into, a lot of them are coming into unknown territory. So when they come down through, I like to at least have some water for them. And I know that they're drinking it because I have to fill it. And it's not evaporation. I have to fill them, you know, pretty frequently. And so, because they also do get in my compost pile too. But anyways, it gives them water. So if you see the buckets in the summertime upright, that's what they're for. Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop the video there. I think it's already like a half an hour long. So I hope I was able to hold the camera steady enough, and so you didn't get sick or seasick or whatever. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to have my channel do things differently, not just, oh, here's, let me show you how you put a seed in a hole and then cover it up, and then, you know, you waste 20 minutes of your life just watching that one. I just wanted to be something different because there's too many channels that are doing that. So I wanted to just expand it and show you some of the things that happened apart from all the you know, the glamorous stuff that everybody likes to watch. But so today I'm actually going to go over and I'm going to build some kind of cheap trellises for my tomatoes, and so I'm going to do that video today, and I'll probably be uploading it tomorrow or the day after, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, thanks a lot for suffering through a half an hour video, and don't forget to subscribe. Now when you subscribe, make sure that you hit that little bell so that you get notifications when I upload a new video. And or maybe you don't want to after this one, but anyways, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll catch you later.